Hey guys, welcome back to the Waterlad Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode. Season 2 is starting to come to an end, but I do have some unreal guests to finish this season, so I am really looking forward to that. And thanks to anyone who has shared a podcast on social media or in person throughout the year. It is very much appreciated. And thank you very much for anyone who has got themselves some Waterlad merch. You guys are the real lads for helping keep this podcast going. And if you do enjoy this podcast and you are keen to support, head over to watch.On, where there's plenty of ways where you can help this podcast. Anyway, I have a genuine superstar on for you today, so let's get to it.
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad. What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad.
Righto, guys. Today I'm lucky enough to be joined by a man who has officially put up more fins than anyone on this planet. He is a freakish talent, and not many have made international rugby look as easy as he has. He's obviously one of the great Tasman Marco. He's been a huge part of the Crusaders' success, and now he's forced his way into the All Blacks wing spot with some unbelievable form. And as you all know, he's on What a Lad because he is one of the great lads. It is the man himself, Will Jordan. Welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me on, Jimmy. Quite the stirring intro there. I've been looking forward to getting on this podcast for a while. I've been disappointed it's taken this long to tear it up. So
you were one of those guys I was expecting to be able to get into the studio. I was hoping you're going to be coming back to, Tasman, or maybe show your face now and again in the Nelson region. But, mate, you've just blown right up and you're gone for good. I don't think you'll be coming back here for a long, long time.
Oh, well, I do always enjoy my time in Nelson and Blenheim, so yeah, fingers crossed I'll be able to get back in the district at some point.
Mate, and you have put up 1,000 fins up. You're always ripping the Tasman Marco. Even Quinny's still into you about it being too slow. What's that all about?
That was unbelievable from Quinn Strange, the feedback he was giving there on my fins up. Although, to be fair, you would have seen the video, I got quite stuck into him and I was questioning whether or not he'd actually put a fins up before in his life, and then he did actually score one in the final, and I don't think I've ever seen someone put one up as quickly as he did. And geez, it was a rigid old thing. It was like he was obviously excited by it, so good to see the forwards getting stuck in behind it too.
Oh, 100%. And mate, what are you up to at the moment? You're obviously in isolation. How are you filling your days?
Yeah, it's been reasonably quiet in here, to be fair. Pretty big supporter of the NBA, so sort of games tip off at about 1 o'clock every day and go through to about sort of 5 or 6. So just kind of been in the rack watching those throughout the day and the afternoons. And obviously the Black Caps have started up their test against India, which has been cool to watch as well.
Mate, you're just in full-on sports mode.
Yeah, absolute coaches.
I love it.
Another hobby.
No, that's good stuff. And obviously, let's talk about the tour. I know you're a very astute thinker of the game. What was your take on the tour? Give us the rundown from your point of view.
Yeah, geez, what part do you want a summary of? No, I think it was, obviously, just personally for myself, it was cool to get away. On tour with the All Blacks last year, but cool to be able to get away again. And for me, get up to the Northern Hemisphere for the first time. Playing the environments up there, which can be pretty daunting with just how vocal the crowds are, and even playing the Springboks the first time as well. It was just cool to be able to get stuck into those environments. And I guess as a team, we had plenty of time to get it on and off the field, and I think off the field, the connections really grew, and by the end of it, we were getting on pretty well. And in terms of our on-field performances, I thought we started really well, and obviously those last couple of games have left a slight sour taste in the mouth for the summer. So, yeah, a bit disappointing to finish like that, and gives us a chance to have a good think over the summer and have a good super next year, and hopefully get another crack at the Irish and those other teams.
What was your reflection on those 2 games to finish? What did you guys talk about in your reviews and stuff?
Game management was a pretty big one, particularly off the back of that Irish test. I guess as a team, we haven't reviewed the French game too much just because we flew out to the next day, but particularly the Irish game, I thought the Irish were outstanding in that game. They really threw it at us. I think 170 tackles or something in that first half. We were sort of holding on for dear life. So it's just about how can we sort of hold more ball and be more effective when we've got it? Because any time you have to make 170 tackles in a half, then it's going to be reasonably tough going.
Shit, yeah. And talk to me about the France game. I know you guys won't mention it, but a 9 o'clock kickoff is crazy late to have the body ready for an international test match. Eh? So how did you guys find that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's a pretty, it's a big day of code in the Northern Hemisphere during these autumn tests. Like, you've got test matches kicking off from, like, we played Italy at 2 o'clock, and then basically there's just big games all the way through till 9. So it is a bit different with that late kickoff. I guess it's just a case of just probably managing your sleep throughout the day. Like, I quite enjoy having a kip on game day, so I just made sure I got a couple of hours in the afternoon, and that meant that by about 9 o'clock I was ready to go. I think a few of the boys who are sort of early birds and go to sleep early, they were sort of maybe a little bit more affected by it, but I'm usually to bed pretty late anyway, so it wasn't too much issue for me.
Was there anyone who stood out for you from any of the teams that you played while over there? Was there anyone you thought, man, this guy's good?
I thought, like, from initially when you ran out against the South Africans, it was like they're big boys, like a big dominant pack. And I thought a couple of their forwards, like Etzebeth and Khaleesi, like they were just, physical specimens. They were probably the first two. And then I'll give a shout out to another Waddle lad. It would be James Lowe, actually. I thought in that game against us, he played very well. Like we know he can. Like he did in New Zealand for so long. But, I thought he played really well, just his energy and stuff. And then, probably the 9-10 combo for the French, Dupont and Intermac, two sort of youngish guys. They had a pretty strong performance, I thought, against us, ran the strings well. Yeah,
mate, some good options there. There's some quality players around, eh?
I can't believe I've just given J-Lo a shout-out, but he deserves it.
He's coming on shortly too as well, actually. He'll probably give you a shout-out too, no doubt.
I don't know.
He's a good lad.
Tough to get praise from the man, but I'm interested to see what he's got to say.
Mate, he was just stoked with his D-read. Who was that on? Rico.
Oh, geez, I've only just stopped hearing about that in the media, actually.
Oh, no, it's good to see him playing well, though. And you obviously cemented your wing spot. Do you still prefer fullback? Where do you see yourself? Do you like 15 or winger?
I was pretty happy just on the wing for the ABs this year. It was cool to sort of get a good run of games and string a few together, and I think that helps rather than sort of playing one and then you're in and out of the team. So that was cool, and I think for me, like, I haven't actually played too much wing before, so just on the back of that continuity stuff, it was cool to be able to take some learnings from game to game. In terms of the fullback v wing stuff, like, it's a bit sort of either or for me. Like I enjoy playing fullback for the Crusaders, and that's sort of where I played most of my footy. But if it's on the wing for the ABs, then that's happy days as well. Pretty good cattle run around fullback, especially at the moment. So let them enjoy it out there,
mate. There's a heap of cattle everywhere though, eh? And the outside backs and at 10. I mean, and even the midfield as well. You guys are not short of options in that back line at the moment.
No, I think that's particularly been the beauty of the year we've had with having such a big squad and having so many games, is that it's given a lot of guys opportunities. And I think basically everyone who went away on tour at some points put on a pretty standout performance. Like obviously saw Quinny and Braids in the midfield, particularly against USA, were pretty strong, and Quinny as well in that last test. And Bridgie, Sevu, Rico obviously had a great year. Davey coming back. So like you say, there are plenty of boys putting their hands up.
And you're hoping to be straight back at fullback for the Crusaders, you mentioned. There's some quality outside backs down there as well. You've got your Sevus, your Bridges, your Davies, and Leicester obviously had a huge season here for Tasman as well to add to that mix. You got Enor, mate. You guys are not short of backs down there either.
Yeah, geez, the competition doesn't get any easier, does it? I might have to find a new position, I reckon. Just outside backs just keep popping up out of bloody everywhere. It's a nightmare. Nah, it's cool. I think obviously we've had those guys over the last couple of years who we've sort of always had one or two guys injured. So over the last few years with Jack being out, Braden being out, Bridgie being out, it's sort of all managed to work out. That like everyone's been able to get out there. But geez, if the team gets run of being injury free, then I'd hate to be Razor trying to pick it. Even like the young boys coming through, like Shea had a good year for Canterbury. I thought from what I saw, he looked pretty classy in that 15 jersey, and obviously Kanina Hollow coming down from the Naki as well. He was scoring tries for fun. So, that'll certainly be a pretty competitive unit down there next year.
Mate, you guys are stacked. Obviously, with the long tour and stuff, you obviously have to find something to do in your spare time, and sounds like you guys were right into your golf. That was what you're living for on tour.
Oh, it is. The boys do enjoy their golf for sure. There's a pretty good group of us now, like sort of you get in between 3 to 4 full groups, 12 to 16 guys on the day off, which is good. We actually had in our week off in Noosa, we had this like Ryder Cup format going, so we played 3 days straight. The 2 Barretts as captains and went right at it, so that was good fun. But yeah, I mean, some of the courses that Bodie was able to organise on the Northern Tour were pretty good going. He's got a future in golf logistics, I think. But yeah, the boys are hacking their way around some good courses. It'd be nice if we'd played a bit better. But it's always enjoyable getting out on the day off and just being able to have a bit of a hack. And like we take it reasonably seriously, but at the same time, like if it doesn't go too good, then not a biggie.
Yeah, and talk to me about the 18th hole at La Golf in France. I've had this question sent in from Nuggy, so I'd love to hear what it's all about.
Me and Sammy Kane have taken on throwing balls. Me and Sammy Kane taken on Nugget and Geordie, and to be fair, we've probably controlled most of the match. Well, it was pretty even, but we were sort of maybe 1 or 2 up through about 15, and then it's tightened up. We've come down 18 and par 5. Long story short, I've 4-putted the 18th green, and we've lost the match. I had like a downhill 4-footer for the win, because we were all square coming down 18. I had like a 4-foot downhiller, and I've taken about 5 minutes to read it. I could have sworn it was straight, so I've just belted it. It's missed, which has left like an 8-footer on the way back to the half. And I've missed that too. But that was funny because the hole was like surrounded by water. So as soon as I missed that other putt, I've just whacked my ball into the drink. And on that hole, I'd actually put my approach shot into the green, into the water as well. So I made 8 on the hole. And Brody Retallick had gone and fished that ball out while I was putting because I'd finished. So as I walked off the green, he's throwing that to me. And well, I wasn't interested in it. So I grabbed that and I just ripped that back in the drink as well. I was fuming, yeah. I was so gutted.
Mate, that's so unlike you. You bottled it.
I know. It was a shambles.
There's obviously some good golfers in the group, eh? It sounds like Geordie's playing off scratch. And where do you fit on the rankings?
Yeah, I'm sort of probably mid-tier. Like I'd like to be higher than what I am, but
top 5?
I'll probably be about 6th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Geordie shot 72 that day at the Golf National. Geordie, Bodie, Damien, Weddy, Nugget, they're probably better than me. Davey and I have usually been pretty similar. He probably played a bit better than me on tour, so I might even be in the 7th slot. I'll tell you one guy who
sliding down the rankings.
I know. One guy I'm definitely better than is Anton Brown, though. And TJ Perenara, actually. 2 guys who are definitely behind me.
Oh, TJ would hate that.
Oh, he would. So no, I think it'll be a big summer for me, actually. Just really look to get into my work, get down to the range, and get myself back down in that top 5 or 6 for next year. It can be a good goal for me for 2022.
Nice goals. What else have you got planned for your break? So when are you back with the Crusaders?
Not back till sort of first week of February, so got a good
decent break.
8 weeks off, which is nice. Yeah, I'm actually doing a summer school paper in here at the moment, so that's been a bit grim.
Nice. What are you doing?
Just the economics paper. I've got about 5 papers to go on my degree, so just trying to hack away at that. And I thought quarantine would be a good time to chip away at it, but
look at you go.
Hopefully that won't take up too much of my summer. It's done in a couple of weeks, so that'll be good. Yeah, golf. I've got the Black Clash in January, the cricket game, which will be good fun. Looking forward to that. And yeah, just it's quite a good time in December just to catch up with like schoolmates and guys you don't see throughout the rest of the year that much when you're sort of stuck in the footy bubble. So yeah, be good to catch up with those boys.
What is that Black Clash like? What's that whole experience like? Is it a bit of a joke around or is it pretty serious in there?
It's a good couple of days. Like the night before they sort of have a bit of an event and yeah, the boys head out for a few drinks and those sort of cricket guys, it's sort of almost a bit of their reunion throughout the year. There's some guys in there who haven't seen each other for a while, and obviously for team rugby, there's some old faces as well. So, firstly, it's just probably quite a cool couple of days, just networking and having yarns with people from the two different codes and picking up hidden gems here and there. In terms of the match, like you're playing pretty seriously. Like you're playing to win, going hard as you can. I think it's obviously a bit of a tough matchup for the rugby players. So I would imagine the cricket players at times are probably holding back a little bit. They probably definitely are. But like in terms of rugby team, we're giving it snot. We have to, otherwise we'll get skittled.
And you've carried that side the last few years, haven't you, too, with your cricket background? You and Geordie, always the standout top scorers. Guys will be melting you up again this year.
Well, I'm a bit concerned this year. I opened the batting last year, but this year I've heard that Shane Bond's playing, so I'm not sure if I want to take the new ball against him. I don't know how quick he can bowl, but I'm not sure I want to find out. So I might take the coward route out and try and knock down to 4 or 5 or something. Although you don't want to be facing Vittori either, the Wizards. So
he looked hard to get away last year for the boys. He was having a field day.
I didn't have to face him, luckily, but yeah, a few of the boys said he was just like I said, a wizard. He was just tough to get away. Obviously, still got all the tips and tricks. I think probably as a general rule, like it's easier for those spinners who are getting a little bit older for them to come in and bowl their 4 overs as opposed to someone trying to get off the long run when they get a bit older. So, he's definitely one to avoid.
Nice. And how's your body in general? Like, is it feeling good? You've had a massive year of code, so is the body feeling good, or have you got a few niggles that you need to sort out during this break?
I guess there are a few niggles that there are a few niggles that sort of catch up to you at the end of the year. I actually tore my hammy in that last game against France.
Did you?
When Rico was running away, I sort of, got a pretty good tug. So, I actually came off early in that game, which was disappointing, but my hammy had actually been niggly sort of the whole year, so it was probably fortunate that I got through to that last game without having a hiccup. So, that's probably the main one. There are other stuff like you just got little sort of bumps and bruises here or there that accumulate, but after the 2 months off, they usually sort of come right and start the cycle all again.
Always nice to get those few months off to just get that body back to where it needs to be, eh?
Oh, hugely. I think particularly this summer with my hammy's probably would have been like a 6 to 8 week injury if it was in season, so that would have knocked a fair amount of code. So good time I guess for it to happen in the summer when I can give it a good rehab process and hopefully come back fit and firing.
And what sort of pre-season training have they got on you guys since you've got this break, but you also need to, once you're coming back to Super Rugby, you pretty much need to be ready to go, eh? So what's that sort of pre-season training look like for you guys? Yeah, it's a bit of a balancing act. Like I certainly found it, like you say, you come back into pre-season, you're pretty much like into the comp straight away. And like I found that my first time doing that at the start of this year, like it is a bit of a different experience trying to get back up to full speed with only like a week or two of like team training. So it is definitely a bit of an art nailing that summer stuff. Like it's just sort of a mix of like you want to refresh, but at the same time you don't want to take too many steps backwards. So I think like in December, you're sort of looking to just turn the wheels over and get your conditioning up in a few gyms and that. And then I guess once you're getting into January and you're getting closer and closer to your return date, then you try to simulate the stuff they're doing in pre-season a little bit more and I guess ramp up the running and the speed work and maybe a bit of contact and that sort of thing, just so that you don't get a fright when you head into day one of pre-season and can't move the next day. Mate, sounds like you nailed it. I'm looking forward to seeing you firing on all cylinders at round one. Oh, I haven't done it yet, so we have to touch base. It's a good plan, but got to follow it. So touch base in February 1st. I'll let you know how it's gone. Might have spent too much time on Kaiteri Beach. But as always, I always enjoy hearing how superstars like you get to the top and how it all starts for you. So give us a rundown on what your life growing up in Christchurch was like as a wee young fella. Had an older brother and an older sister, so particularly my older brother, I used to get pretty stuck in the backyard. I mean, I used to play plenty, probably more cricket actually, but we're always a pretty competitive duo and enjoyed getting stuck in. I guess from a young age, like I was always really like into my sport, like rugby, cricket, running, whatever it was. Like I always was pretty keen on it and always like enjoyed watching the All Blacks and the Crusaders and stuff coming through. And just went to local schools in the area, and I guess
like heading to Christchurch Boys was a big thing for my rugby, I guess, really. Like it was a school with a lot of rugby history and a lot of All Blacks and that sort of thing. So, but at the same time, like when I was at school, I didn't really take footy too seriously. Like I was playing, but never really thought of it as a career or anything. Like I wasn't going to the gym or doing any huge amount of extra training and that sort of thing. Like I just sort of, the thing I enjoyed about school footy was just playing with your mates. Like you had a group of guys who you sort of went right through school with, and all through the grades you're playing with them. So both cricket and rugby, those are the sort of two things I really enjoyed at school, was just having that group of guys that I played with for quite a long time. And then, I guess as I sort of left school and moved into the Crusaders Academy and went to uni, then that was when things started to ramp up from a footy point of view, and headed up to Tassie. And I guess from there it's sort of, you just go through sort of the pathways, and it's been going okay so far.
Mate, so humble, you boomed through those pathways and look at you now right on top of the game. So, but let's go back to your school a little bit. Was it true that you were playing halfback? I can't quite comprehend you at halfback.
No, I was very much a distributing 9 when I was at school. No, when I was younger, was playing actually in the midfield. But then when I went to high school, like I was just really short. Like I just didn't grow whatsoever. I was obviously a late bloomer, so like year 9, 10, 11, I was like front row of the class photo, like quite short. So I sort of, with that, I started to move to halfback, which was like actually quite a good transition, because like it sort of meant that like I still made like the A teams and stuff at halfback, whereas like in the midfield or on the wing, like I wouldn't have. And it just sort of kept me like involved in the game for a few years, but I wasn't actually enjoying my footy like that much at the time. And then sort of like halfway through year 12, I had a bit of a growth spurt sort of throughout that year and got a bit faster and stuff. And that's why I played a couple of games on the wing for the first 15. And then, year 13 came around and I thought, oh, geez, I'll give fullback a go. And since then, it sort of stuck. I did actually end up, one game in year 13, I did go back to halfback in the second half. We were playing Ron Carley or something. And I was on the bench, and one of the halfbacks got injured, so our coach was like, oh, we'll just chuck you on a halfback in the second half, just to sort of give the other halfback a bit of a break too, because he'd been playing heaps of minutes. And the whole first half on the bench, like, because in year 13, like, I didn't pass the ball much. Like, I used to just carry everything. And so the boys were saying, like, what are you doing playing halfback? This isn't going to work. And I was like, no, I'm just going to come on and just distribute the nut. Like, you know, I think it's going to be Aaron Smith. Like, I'm going to come on, get the rucks and just shift it. And like I've come on in the second half, like I've scored a hat trick, all from just like taxis, like carrying and stuff. And like I got off the field, and like my teammates couldn't believe it. They're like, "Mate, you're never going to play halfback again." So that was the last time I went in there, and I haven't seen it since, unfortunately. But, yeah. Nah. Year 9, 10, 11, I was playing it. I did generally used to just play it more legitimately as a halfback, shift the nut. I had a pretty questionable right to left pass off me though, so you sort of have to get the 10 to come a bit closer. Or I just throw it over his head to the 12. Those are probably the two seeds I had off that side. Strong
taxi,
off the left to the
taxi
right.
that way.
Yeah, taxi, yeah. I was a bit of a makeshift 9, but it was all good.
But the back end of your Christchurch Boys career, you were an absolute gun. You obviously, you were the top try scorer throughout the UC competition, and mate, there's some footage on YouTube of you absolutely ripping some team up. You were a gun.
Yeah, I guess like what I sort of thought was, as my sort of physical attributes kind of caught up, like I got a bit bigger and I got a bit faster. Like when I was younger and coming through the grades, like I did used to just watch like heaps of rugby. Like I was a real coatie growing up, and I think like just from watching so much rugby, like I picked a few things up, like I guess in terms of like understanding of the game and like tactically in that. So I guess year 13, as I sort of, like I said, got a bit bigger and got a bit faster, like that sort of, I guess, merged with like the sort of like knowledge I had for the game like at the time as sort of like still quite young. And I think that sort of helped me when I was a bit younger, and that was a bit of a bonus, just getting that speed and stuff coming through. But yeah, like I said, I had a pretty good year in year 13, but like I didn't make NZ schools or anything like that. So like off the back of that year, I sort of still wasn't really thinking rugby was going to be a career or anything like that. Probably wasn't until like the next sort of year or two that sort of came into play.
Did you ever have a decision where it was rugby or cricket? Because you were also a really good cricketer too, weren't you?
Not really, to be fair. Coming through, I was playing rep cricket as well, like under 17s and stuff for Canterbury, but I never really sort of got like beyond that level. Like I was never really in the frame for probably like a New Zealand team or anything like that. And yeah, like I just sort of thought once I left school, I didn't have as much ambition to go play club cricket. Like I had really enjoyed playing at school with my good group of mates and stuff. But like when I left school, I sort of thought, yeah, I'll just sort of leave it there. And yeah, that was sort of it really. Like it wasn't a case of I chose to play footy and not cricket. I did have like academy stuff on during the summer that would have made playing cricket a bit niggly, but yeah, I wouldn't have headed down the professional field in the cricket thing, I don't think.
True. Mate, you might get one if you keep scoring runs in the Black Clash.
Yeah, I know. I need to get the game broadcast in India somehow.
How did you end up in Tasman then? How did Canterbury let you slip?
Yeah, so off the back of the under-19s tournament, I was playing for Canterbury my first year out of school. I actually initially had an offer from the strong arm Waikato to head up there and play. I guess like Damien had just made the All Blacks, so they were probably thinking they were short of fullback. So they put an offer in. And then from there, it was sort of it was an interesting process because at the time, Brad Moore, who is it now the All Black coach, he was helping out with the Canterbury 19s, and he was the Crusaders coach at the time. And so I sort of met with him and like the academy manager, the Crusaders academy manager, and they sort of said, well, we don't want you to go to Waikato for kind of obvious reasons because there was sort of some bad blood there after like Damien and Anton and those boys had all left sort of Christchurch to head up there. So
yeah,
at the time it was kind of like, well, geez, we really don't want you going there. And so they basically said Canterbury's pretty full at the moment. We've got like Johnny McNichol, Bridgie. They just signed Josh Mackay as sort of a 10 outside back already. So they said, oh, we're pretty chocker and we don't really envision you playing wide of 10 for another, like at least a year, maybe two.
Yeah.
Whereas Tasman, they were a little bit light from the outside backs and they needed a fullback. And I guess from that like sort of Crusaders influence, they sort of offered up a deal. And for me, it was a bit of a no-brainer because one, I was pretty keen to play wide of 10 kind of straight away, which Tasman were kind of offering up. And two, obviously with Ringy being there, Leon McDonald, I thought that was a really good opportunity for me as a fullback to go learn off him. So, yeah, I was pretty happy to head up to Tassie and was actually really stoked. And, yeah, haven't looked back, really, a great environment up there. And as you know, and really helped my game flourish, I think.
And how was Ringy to learn from?
No, he was good. Yeah, like I think he's a little bit on the quieter side, but he was awesome. Like I think just what I learned off him was like just really like in-game situations, understanding like how a game flows and that sort of thing. Like it's hard to, I guess it's one good thing about a coach who's played the game is that they've been in your shoes before, so they sort of know what it's all about. So probably more tactically rather than technically from him, like just talking to him around positioning and from fullback, how you can sort of pop up in the game more because you do have a bit of a license on the field to kind of roam around. So just picking his brain on little tips here and there that won't necessarily be big things, but went a long way. That was, yeah, definitely helpful for me, particularly when I was so young.
Did you feel ready? Did you feel ready to be playing at that level? You obviously wanted to be playing at that level. Did you feel like you were good enough at this stage?
Yeah, I think just prior to that Mitre 10 season was the Under-20 World Cup, which I went away with the Under-20s, and we had a pretty strong team for that, ended up winning it. And I had a pretty good tournament for them, and that gave me a lot of confidence, I guess, that I was sort of ready to, even though Under-20s obviously age group stuff, but you had a lot of good players there to sort of play well, and that gave me a lot of confidence moving forward. But like at the same time, going into Mitre 10, like you're never really sure how you're going to sort of translate. There was definitely a lot of nerves those first few games and stuff. And yeah, I think what helped, had a lot of good players around me. Like we obviously talked about J-Lo already, but he was on the left wing and he was a really good communicator, very helpful for a fullback. And team on the right wing who I played a lot with at the 20s, guys like Hunty, Nank, Davey was floating around. So that definitely helped a lot, just having a bit of familiarity with those guys and having a good group who just let you play your own footy, I think. Like at the time we played, and still do, but Tassie played a pretty like attacking brand of code, and that sort of suited my game, and then that, yeah, definitely helped me sort of translate in.
And you were rocking the headgear back then too, eh? Would you look to bring that back?
Yeah, I didn't rock headgear my debut season, but it was probably as a result of my debut season where I got a couple of decent shots. Then in 2018, I bought the headgear out for my 10. Yeah, I sort of cringe when those videos pop back up at me in the lid. No, it's all good. Like I'd had a big layoff from concussion and confidence was down a bit, so I sort of wore the lid just for a bit of extra protection or peace of mind and stuff. I don't think it'll be making a comeback, but I guess it played an important role in just getting me back out there and getting stuck in. But no, I wouldn't expect to see it anytime soon. I've still got it at home in the bag if it needs to be brought out.
Get it out. End of your do, I reckon that's you.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be good luck. Sometimes you need a helmet on for those sorts of occasions.
Your first year your first season with Tasman was that good that you did get called into the Crusaders squad, didn't you? Was it wider squad or was it full squad to start?
No, it was full squad. But like I said before, like I had some sort of concussion problems, so I didn't actually end up playing that whole super season. I only really even started training fully in sort of March, April, so it was pretty anticlimactic. Like I was pretty excited off the back of my 10. Obviously, being from Christchurch, it was childhood dream stuff. Played for the Crusaders, so I was pretty pumped up about it. And then ended up just sitting on the sidelines, feeling pretty dusty for about 8 months. So it was actually a bit of a grim start to my sort of super stuff. It was pretty frustrating at the time actually, not being able to get on, and there's a few question marks around like how long that concussion stuff was going to last for and how long was I going to be able to play again. So it was actually a real tough 8 months for me, that first super year, to be fair.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, like you said, just being signed with your dream team and first year in there, and you can't even show the boys what you've got. You just got to sit there on the sidelines. And with a concussion makes it even worse, because you've got no definitive timeline when you're going to be back, and no one can actually see that you're injured. So you're just sort of sitting there questioning yourself, aren't you? Yeah,
that was it. And like I felt like a real fraud because we had so many legends in the Crusaders at that time, like like Rito, obviously Sammy is still there, but Dagger, Crotts, Toddy, like Owie, just all these like legends of the game. And I was just thinking, like, that wasn't my fault, obviously, but I'm just on a smoko, just like parked up on the sidelines, like not doing anything.
Yeah.
I was like, geez, these blokes get me thinking, like, who is this young guy? Like, is he going to do a bit of work or? But I just felt like dusty that whole year. Like, I just felt real out of it and stuff. And I actually ended up thinking it wasn't really concussion. It was more this issue I had with like my inner ear that was causing it. So that's why it actually took so long to sort out, was it took so long to diagnose it as that. So once that sort of diagnosis happened, then I actually came good pretty quickly, but it just took like ages for that to happen. So I wasn't really doing the exercises and stuff to come right. But like I say, geez, I just remember thinking like these old guys must just think like, I'm just on a holiday here. Like, it wasn't good.
Tough, eh? So was it actually an ear issue? It wasn't. There was nothing to do with concussion in the end.
Nah, well, I did get a head knock initially, but during that first minor 10 year, but then I sort of regrouped from that. I was able to always pass all the concussion tests and stuff, like the cognitive testing and that sort of thing. I was I was passing them sweet, and it was all good. But then I was just like my vision and stuff was just a bit like foggy in that. I just felt a bit sort of spacey. So it was sort of all a bit confusing, but once they sort of did this testing, it was sort of a mix between my inner ear and like vision stuff. Once I sort of worked that out, it kind of correlated with the fact that like cognitively I was going all good. It was just more that sort of balance or vision stuff. So it's a bit of a weird one, to be honest. Like it's a bit of a strange thing, but it sort of came right and haven't had too many problems with it since. So touch wood.
So you would have been looking forward to getting back to Tasman after that frustrating season, and you went up there and carried the side to their first ever premiership.
Yeah, it was pretty cool that 2019 year. I certainly didn't carry the team. We had plenty of decent cattle that year. But no, it was a real cool year because the couple of years before that, like 2017, 2018, we made the final. I made the final, made the semi in 2018. And like we had a really good team, but we just hadn't quite been able to get over the hump in those big games. And I think those 2 years before that were really key in us just growing as a group and understanding what it took to win those big games. And that sort of kind of correlated in 2019, us having such a good year. Yeah, the boys went unbeaten. I mean, we had a pretty stacked squad. We had like Squid came back. Geordie, Tafua was playing, Piers, Crocky came back to Nelson. So we had a real strong team, but yeah, it was still a pretty impressive effort for, Tassie to win the title, I thought, considering that, 7 or 8 years ago, they were trying to boot us from the comp. So it was an amazing turnaround, and that was a pretty special thing, being able to bring that title back to Nelson and Blenheim.
And pretty special do by the sounds of it from some of the other lads, and from all accounts, you go pretty well on it.
It was a good do, yeah. Well, you got to celebrate these occasions accordingly, don't you? So we gave it a good crack. There's actually a few photos that are out there. I think it would have been the Tuesday maybe, which would have been day 4, maybe Wednesday, might have been day 5. And there's these photos of, we had this award ceremony on the Nelson steps, and at the sort of front of the city there's these sort of steps, and it sort of leads out to this courtyard for the viewers at home. And there's this photo of us walking down the Nelson main street for this parade, and the boys have all got sunnies on, holding blue Powerades, heads down. You can just tell that we're just in the hurt locker a bit. It was good fun those few days.
And then from that season, the following year, you end up getting your All Black call-up. So what's that like? Obviously, it's a big moment for every New Zealand kid to get that phone call, or however you heard it. How was your one?
Yeah, it was pretty epic, actually. It was a day after that North vs South game, which we sort of knew we'd basically doubled as an All Black trial, since the squad was getting named the next day. Sort of woke up that morning and you're kind of eagerly awaiting either a call from Gilbert Anoka to say you'd made it, or a call from Fozzie to say you hadn't. So, and obviously, I hadn't been in the squad before, so I didn't have either of their numbers saved. So it's not like your sort of phone rings and you see who it is and you're thinking, oh, here we go, or you just see a random number. You're thinking, geez, is this going to be? Please be Bert.
Yeah.
But no, it was cool just firstly initially being named in the squad, but it really kind of sunk in how awesome it was. Firstly, just when we started training and being around the group, and particularly when you go around the community, when we went to sort of rural areas, or I think we went to Whakatane for a camp that first year, and just seeing how excited everyone was about the All Blacks being there, and how enthused they were about the team. It was pretty cool being a part of that, and just seeing how much people cared for the team. And then obviously getting on the field was different as well. My first game went terribly, actually. I got knocked out and we lost, so it wasn't a particularly memorable night. But just the whole build up of the week, and putting the black jersey on and the haka and all that sort of thing. It's it's cool stuff.
Yeah, true. That was against Aussie. You only lasted, what was it, under 5 minutes, was it?
Oh yeah, it would have been about 3 to 5 minutes, I reckon.
Oh, heartbreak.
Yeah, knee from Marika Korobeti, and that was the end of it. And that was actually pretty gutting. It's like you say, it's not really what you want. You make your debut, and you really sort of get 3 minutes out there. So that was pretty gutting. I guess I was lucky that on the last game of the tour against Argentina, I got another run and managed to go okay in that game, because it would have been a bit depressing if that was the one game and involvement I got for the year was just that game against Aussie, and it ended pretty abruptly.
Yeah, gutted. You mentioned that North versus South game a little bit earlier as well, being the trial, and that was a game where you really lit it up, and one of the biggest clutch moments, you jumping over your teammate Mitch Hunt to win the match. Oh, talk me through that moment. Have you given him a bit of banter about that since?
As sort of time goes on, I give him a bit more banter about it. When I saw him in the sheds after the game, and probably the coming sort of week or two after that, I didn't really give him too much stick about it. I felt pretty bad, actually. No, I didn't feel bad, but he is obviously a really good mate of mine, and it was unfortunate that it had been over him. It would be better if it was over someone else. But certainly as time's gone on, I've started to give him more stick about it. And when we go to Kaituria for New Year's with him and Drummer and Davey and those sorts of boys, he copped a bit of stick for it that year. But I think aside from that, that was just such a cool game. I don't know if they can find any way to get that game, or even a wee series on the national calendar, it'd be awesome, I reckon. I think everyone really seemed to kind of buy into it, and obviously the game itself was really cool. It was just a shame there was no crowd, because it would have been a pretty cool atmosphere if there had been.
Yeah, and it was a perfect game to showcase it, with a match-winning try like that. It was an awesome finish to the game. So did you call that cross kick on Hunty because you saw him there and you knew you could out-jump him, or did someone just kick that?
No, I think before that we'd had about 3 penalty advantages, like right in the attacking zone, and I had been calling for it before that. Just obviously just knowing the physical difference between me and Hunty, I thought the cross kick might have been a good option. But like I didn't really get out there, so yeah, me and Geordie went and talked to Josh Ioane, who was at 10, and just said like if we get the advantage again, like just pull trigger on it and just kick it. And to be fair, it was a on the money seed from Josh. Like he was under quite a bit of pressure. They came quite hard at him, and he did very well to execute that under pressure and put it on a dime.
Oh, one of the great moments. Love that one. Poor Hunty though. Sad to Hunty.
Yeah, poor fella. I'm sure he'll get back at some point.
So what has been the hardest thing going into an All Black environment? What's the biggest difference from being in a super environment to now being an All Black?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think initially getting into the squad, like I was quite, like everyone says, it's quite daunting, and you're sort of worried that it's going to be really tense and a really serious environment, and you have to be like on your toes the whole time. But there was probably one thing that I was like pleasantly surprised about. Obviously, like it was a very serious environment, and like when we were on training and stuff, like there's real high standards, that sort of thing. But in terms of like all the lads in the group, like it was pretty easy to get along with everyone. Like there's obviously a hierarchy of respect and that sort of thing, but like after a few weeks, you sort of felt comfortable, throwing a bit of banter back and forth and that sort of thing. So that was one thing I did enjoy, was actually after a few weeks, like not feeling like you're walking on eggshells and just being able to kind of be yourself. And I think that's been a bit of a change All Blacks have had, from what I gather over the last 5 or 6 years, is that idea of just being able to be yourself and be who you are. And then that's helped guys new come into the team be able to sort of express themselves and play well. I think, one thing I learned this year in terms of the on-field stuff is just how important it is to be on for like every game, which seems like obvious, but within a tour or a 15-game season, like it does happen where mentally you're drifting in and out of games, or your mindset's not quite right and that sort of thing. And that was probably something I noticed from that South African game where I didn't have the best game. It wasn't like I wasn't prepared for the game, I wasn't like mentally up for it, but like it was just a good lesson for me, and how important it is to just nail your prep every week and just like really physically be up for the challenge. Like then that's a big thing about test footy, is like if you're not physically up for it, then like you get found out. So yeah, those are the two things I really took out of it, was just kind of be yourself, and the other thing was just making sure week to week that you're extremely diligent and nailing your prep, so when you go out there you're ready to go and put your best foot forward.
Yeah, mate, that mental part of it, what you speak about not drifting in and out of games, is massive, eh? The good players, the great players are so good at mentally staying in the game for that whole 80 minutes, and it's a lot harder to do than you think, where a lot of guys, especially as you come down the levels, will be in the moment when they're around the ball, and then when they're off it, they'll drift for just a few seconds, which will end up being the difference between, making the next play or not.
Yeah, I think that's something I've not struggled with, but I've had to come to terms with a little bit more play on the wing this year as opposed to fullback. Whereas, like at fullback, you're just in the game a bit more, just because you're closer in the field, ball's getting kicked to you a lot and that sort of thing. Whereas, like there were games this year where in the first half, like I'd barely touch the nut, and like play wouldn't even go my way on D and that sort of thing. Like there's a couple of games I come in the shed at half time and go, geez, like I've really like I need to get involved in the game. I need to like get stuck in. But and it wasn't a case of like I hadn't been looking for it or like getting up my wing and stuff, but it's just the way it sort of went. So that's where I think it's particularly important, if you have had a quiet sort of 5-10 minutes, to, like you say, mentally stay on, so that when you do get your opportunity, then like you're ready to take it. Because how often do you see a team finally gets the ball and then they'll drop it straight away and that sort of thing. So particularly on the wing, that's something I've had to really be aware of.
Mate, you are right on. Love it. Another thing about becoming an All Black is obviously the extra attention you get from fans and public and all sorts. So how have you found dealing with that? Obviously, everyone will be coming up to you. You're a good-looking man, and everyone loves a try scorer, which you score plenty. So you obviously get a heap of attention from the public, and I'm sure women as well. I guess there's a bit more sort of scrutiny and stuff. Like I don't know, it's sort of weird to think. Like I don't really sort of like walk around town. I'm not signing signatures every 5 seconds, or I have to put my hood up or put sunglasses on or that sort of thing to avoid getting seen. Not like bloody LeBron or Cristiano Ronaldo or anything like that. But
Yeah, it is a little bit. I think like, the scrutiny thing is something you do have to be aware of in terms of that, like probably mental space. Like I think I've been reasonably fortunate so far in my career that like most of the sort of media or sort of comments or like public perception's been like reasonably positive, whereas there have been a few games or a few moments where it has been a bit negative, and like it is pretty easy to see that and get quite caught up in it. Like remember one game I played for Tassie, like early in my career, things have been going pretty well. I had a real poor game, and like went online and was just seeing comments of just like getting sprayed and abused and sort of thing, and like seeing that for the first time, like it does actually. Like it does throw you a little bit. Like I think I was like 19 at the time, so that's something that you've got to deal with. I think as the longer you're in and around the game, like you get used to that, and you just sort of go to deal with it, and you get better at like filtering it out, and I guess understanding whose views are sort of important and that sort of thing. So yeah, it does definitely have good and bad aspects of it that it is scrutiny.
So what would your recommendation be for young guys who are, you know, just coming through the scenes and they've had a bad game, getting sprayed on social media? What advice would you give them to cope with that?
I think like the most obvious advice there is like obviously don't try not to read it or see it, but that's quite often not that easy if you're
getting harder right
through social media, and it's right there. Like it's almost slightly unrealistic to not see it because it's so accessible. So I think the big thing for me is I try to have like someone in your team or in your environment who's like opinion you really kind of respect and who you can have like good conversations with your game about. So like for me, like I'll do my own review and that sort of thing, and I'll have a think about how I've played, but then like in the Crusaders, for example, like I'll use Goody as that. Like I'll go and have a chat to Goody, and I know like we'll be able to have a good yarn around how I've played, and if I've generally had a poor game, then he'll sort of let me know, and that'll be fair enough. Whereas if there's a few things that have happened here or there, then we'll just work on how we can improve on that rather than getting too sort of like despondent about it. So I think that's important rather than reading the views of 100 people and one person might think you've had a shocker when in reality that's not necessarily the case. So that's probably the one thing I like having is just having that one person or two people whose opinions you trust, you can yarn to them and know you'll get like, genuine feedback.
Great advice, like that. So going forward, what's your plans? You've obviously got the Crusaders next. How many years are you signed with New Zealand Rugby? Are you a Crusader for life?
At this stage I'm just signed up to the Crusaders, Tassie, New Zealand Rugby through till end of next year. I guess that sort of process is starting to kind of happen around lift on a bit further. Certainly enjoyed my time in the black jersey and the Crusaders and Tassie as well. So I'd say I won't be going too far, and I can't imagine I'll be stopping my franchise anytime soon either. So fingers crossed that it'll get sorted, and the next few years will be hanging around.
Is it true you came quite close to signing with the Highlanders, or Highlanders made a pretty big attempt to try and get you down there?
A couple of times. Like both times I've sort of signed in 2017 and 2019. I've had a few conversations with the Highlanders, and at the time those were, I guess, somewhat tempting because, like you say, there was a huge log jam of players at the Crusaders, and I was sort of like in 2019. I think I played like 9 or 10 games, half off the bench, half starting. A few times I wasn't even in the 23 and that sort of thing. So the opportunity to head down to the Highlanders, and whilst game time wasn't promised, like there was maybe a bit more of an opening there at fullback after Bender was going to leave. The opportunity to play week in, week out was pretty enticing. I had to kind of weigh up whether I wanted to do that or whether I wanted to stick out of the Crusaders, a team that obviously meant a bit to me, and I'd learned quite a bit off from my first 2 years. It was tough, but then I decided that I was better off sticking around here, and sort of felt like the competition of the group was going to bring the best out of me. And I think, I'm glad I made that decision. I think it's that sort of hopefully proved to be the case.
100%. Are you looking overseas at some point? Are you looking to chase one of these wee sabbaticals that the Barretts and Mackenzies are taking at the moment? Would you like one of those?
There's a bit of yen left for me after those boys have gone into it overseas. Well, might be dry. At some point in my career, I'll be keen to go explore that. Whether it's Japan or Europe. I think one thing that is actually enticing for players these days is potentially that like American league sparking up. I've been to the States a couple of times, and if that league ever did take off, then the opportunity to go live over in the States for a year or two would be something I'd be pretty interested in. So at the moment it's sort of more on its kind of minor stages, but if that did pick up, I'd be certainly interested in that. But yeah, I think at some point, yeah, I'll jump overseas, probably a few years down the track and give it a nudge.
Yeah, because you love your American sports too, don't you? So you'd be right in your element.
Yeah, I wonder, I might have to try make a shift to a running back or a wide receiver or something, maybe. No, actually, I wouldn't last one down in the NFL. But no, like I say, it's like those American events over there are just next level. Like the sheer amount of sport on and the way they do it with all the entertainment and stuff's pretty cool. So opportunity to get stuck in that, head down to the NBA games, NFL games, that sort of thing would be epic.
Have you ever looked at or thought about a code change? You talk about NFL there. I reckon you'd be a great running back, but NRL, anything like that. Have you ever thought about potentially ever doing a switch like that?
I have thought about chasing the PGA Tour dream before. Nah, I haven't. But honestly, golf is one sport that like I'd love to be a gun golfer, as we've sort of talked about. But in terms of like a serious change, not really like. Like I watched the NRL a little bit, but growing up, I never played league or anything like that. Like it's not that big in the South Island or Christchurch, probably as much as it is up north. So yeah, I never really played league, and like growing up, I watched the Warriors play a bit and stuff, and I watch the NRL kind of casually a bit now, but it's never something that's kind of been popped up for me or really been too much of a thought. The one sport actually I would like to. Like I'd be keen to go do like a week of pre-season or just get into the environment would be AFL actually. Like I've always found that a cool game to watch. And like, I think a lot of the stuff they do, obviously around the kicking and like the high ball work and that would have quite a bit of correlation for a back three player. So that's something that Geordie and I have actually talked about a little bit. Like it'd be cool to be able to head into one of their environments and pick up a few things that they do with those skill sets, because there probably is a bit of a, similarities between that and players in the back three or playing 10.
Just for a pre-season, or would you be keen to do a season?
I don't know. I don't know if it would ever actually happen, getting to go do a season, but like it'd be a pretty big plunge.
Carmichael Hunt gave it a crack, and Israel Folau.
They've done the three-peat, the Union League and AFL. I wouldn't say it's something that would realistically happen, but like I say, the opportunity to maybe just for like a week or two go and train with them and that sort of thing would be something that would be fun. But yeah, I do actually seriously enjoy watching AFL. I reckon it's a cool sport.
Right, that's good stuff. And you've spoken a little bit about you being an economics wizard. So is that what your plan is after footy?
My degree's more sort of in management. I do a commerce degree. It's more in management than economics. I'm just sort of, the summer school papers were a bit limited, so I had to take one of these off. But I actually started off first when I was at uni doing law, and that proved a little bit difficult when I was playing footy to deal with the readings and stuff for that. So I moved to commerce. I've got about 5 papers left, so I'm sort of just really hanging in there. The temptation to put it on hold and just sort of do the footy stuff's pretty high, but I'm probably far enough down the track that I'm holding on. I don't know necessarily how much. Like I have learned some good stuff throughout my degree and that sort of thing. I don't know how if I have a long footy career, I don't know if I necessarily like use that to head into a field. But like a lot of the stuff in the management's pretty just sort of basic kind of life. Just understanding people and interactions and that sort of thing. So hopefully some of it correlates. But like I say, I'm just so close now that it'll be hopefully be nice just to get the piece of paper, and it'll be something that I guess I can be proud of managing the two in my career. Yeah.
What is the dream job for you post footy? Can't be golf. I know it's probably golf, but
player agency is something that I've always had a little bit of interest in. I guess coming from that law background, like sort of there's a few correlations with that. That's probably the one thing that I've had a bit of an idea around, maybe something I could do, but at this stage it's pretty early days. I guess it kind of depends on how long the career goes for, and you never know where you might end up and these things happen. Coaching maybe, but I'm not sure.
You'd be a great coach or a great player agent. Like those two.
Thanks. I have to use you as a reference.
Yeah, anytime, mate. You're an astute thinker of the game. Anyway, mate, as always, we've gone to our Instagram for some questions, and you have come up with plenty. And a lot of them, like I mentioned in the podcast, a lot of them were from women who just wanted to tell you how beautiful you are and things like that. So it's interesting to get, some with a bit of sex appeal on the podcast, which obviously hasn't happened too much because this is the first time I've had so many questions like that.
Jeez.
But a couple of the lads have come up trumps here too. So first question was from Davey Havili, one of the greats. Can he tell us how he got the nickname Glow On?
That's a good question, actually. It's reasonably sort of self-explanatory, but basically last year we had a bye in the rugby championship last year, so we headed down to the local ordering hole down in Manly, and we had like a 10 o'clock curfew, so we just headed down for a few beers, but yeah, I guess we got through probably 5 or 6 beers, and as you do, you start to get a bit of a tipsy and get a bit of a glow on, so we were just walking back, and Akira Ioane just started calling me out, and from there it's just sort of stuck. It's been tough to shake.
Is that your nickname now, Glow On?
Yeah, that's pretty much what most of the boys in the team would call me now. Yeah.
True. What about the coaches? Because that's when a nickname becomes official, when the coach calls you it.
Nah, the coaches haven't quite got there yet.
What do they call you? What's the nickname they run?
They probably call me Will, or just Jill. Used to be the old one.
Oh,
yeah. Still hear that around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jill and Bill.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Who is the hardest player in the world to mark? Not another shout out to you, Tasman Marco, James Lowe, surely.
It's not James Lowe. If it's James Lowe, I'll tell you how you defend James Lowe is you just give him the outside, and as a 110 kg winger, he's never going to have the pace and gas yet, so you just top him from the side. So anyone playing J-Lo in the future, there's your tip there. There's a few. Like I think someone like Marika Korobeti's quite tough because he's quite small. Like he looks sort of quite small, and he's quite fast and like athletic in that. But then he's just a real solid unit. So he's sort of got that power game as well, which makes it kind of tough. Like you've got to sort of consider a few different options.
You're still haunted from your 2-minute knockout.
Yeah, I know. And if you try to tackle him with your head, then that doesn't go well either. So, advice for him: tackle with your shoulders, not your head. Yeah, right. He's obviously an obvious one with that. Someone who I haven't really had to mark too much in games in Super Rugby, but I have struggled with it training a few times, is actually Rico, because like I was saying with J-Lo, a lot of guys, I'll just try tend when I'm at fullback to give the outside, and I'll just bet my speed to be able to chop them down.
Yeah.
Whereas he's probably the one guy, well, maybe not the one guy, but one of the few guys who has probably got me for speed. So I'm cautious of giving the outside, and that sort of opens me up both ways. So he has got me a couple of times at training. So he's one I've got to work out. But yeah, on the international scene, Korobeti's pretty tough. So I haven't had to play Cheslin and Colby yet, but he's been another one that I don't really want to end up on that side of the one-on-one.
Dangerous feat. But it's interesting to hear that you even say that Rico's probably got you on the outside as well. Damien mentioned he would be the quickest in the All Blacks, where a lot of people's perception is that you would be the fastest in the All Blacks. So when you're out on the field, you look super quick. You make everyone else look slow. So what's it about Rico that makes him so fast?
First, I'm going to bone to pick with Damien, actually. I was listening to that podcast yesterday, and you were talking the wee snippet around who was the fastest, and he didn't actually mention me, and I think the top 5 names he threw out there. So I might have to challenge him to a wee sprint. He obviously doesn't rate me. It's disappointing. I don't know. He's got obviously the build for it. He's got big, long legs. I reckon between him and I think if we just lined up on I wonder if there's a difference between in-game speed and genuine sprinting speed.
Yeah,
I think maybe sometimes I might in my support play and stuff. I think a strength of mine is really sort of anticipate the play. So I think sometimes I look like I'm running real fast just because I've compared to everyone else. I might be running just a little bit quicker because they're sort of I don't know. That's probably the one thing I have thought of in the past because I think definitely Rico. in terms of kilometres and stuff, would be quicker than me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what people say. Like people say in times and stuff, you're not one of the fastest on your speed times and stuff. But when you watch you on the field, mate, you look the fastest. So like you say, things like anticipation, being able to carry the ball, you seem to be able to run the same speed while carrying the ball in pretty much two hands as you could probably on the sprint track. So all these little things add up, and mate, when you've got that ball, you're gone.
Yeah, I do. A lot of the boys take the piss out of me for how I always run with the ball in two hands and bobbling around like this. I don't know. Quite often I do it, there's no one even to pass to. I don't know. I think it's just like a habit I've sort of got into. It's a bit buzzy, but
We got a lot of questions about your speed as well. So, and pretty much the common one is, how do you train your speed? Obviously, Bodie gave away his secret on his episode, his 6-week program. What's your secret to being so fast?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, like speed, in terms of like speed drills and coaching and stuff, is actually something I'm keen to explore a little bit more. Like I do a few basic things, but I've never really done any like really intense kind of work with like a speed coach, or like really done like a big summer of drilling in that. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing. But I think there's a couple of the big things. One is just having like a good like lower body like strength like load. Like I think like the stronger you can get like in terms of your squat and your hammies, like your calf raises and stuff, like that's pretty important to running fast. So that's like something I sort of try and do, even though I may not necessarily love the gym that much. And then I guess, yeah, in terms of that on-field stuff, though, I think a lot of it, like if you want to be fast, like on the field, a lot of that stuff around like more reaction and agility and that thing's more important, because it's not that often that you're going to really wind up to top gear and, you know, hit your max speed. A lot of it's around like probably 5 to 15 meter efforts, and I guess being faster in that space is a big difference between like making a line break and getting caught. Like it's a pretty small kind of thing. So any kind of like agility drills you can do, which is around like quick changes of direction, or even any games where like you're reacting to something happening and then having to like sprint off that, if that makes sense, I think will help correlate speed off the field, kind of translate into like on the field and performance.
Yeah. And when you talked about your coming through the grades as a young fella, you talked about your growth spurt and just becoming fast. Did that just happen naturally, that speed that you got?
Yeah, I think so. Like I was reasonably fast when I was real young, and then when I had that period of being sort of Mitch Hunt side, I slowed down a bit, and then as I got taller, the speed did just sort of come back. And then I think definitely over the last probably year or two, I've got a bit quicker as I've started to take the gym a bit more seriously and got a bit stronger. Definitely that's something I think has helped.
Interesting. Okay, next question's from Hunty, actually. How come you haven't had any success in the Stillwell Golf Day yet?
This is something that does haunt me, actually. We have there's a lot of stories I hear about my golf just being disappointing, actually, and it probably is, unfortunately, painting a true reflection. It's a bit upsetting. It comes to the realization that maybe I'm not as good at golf as I think I am. It's gonna hit me quite deep. We had this little day when we were up in Kaituia for New Year's. We got these teams, and we played this one-off golf day, 9 holes for these jackets. Me and my partner, this guy from Nelson, Ollie Jones Allen, we haven't had much luck yet, actually. It's been either 2 or 3 years now, and every other team apart from us has won. I think last year Drummy and Quinn Strange won, Hunty and Dave the year before. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure on us this year to deliver. And given the fact that I've 4-putted a green to lose a match about a week ago, it's telling me my preparation needs a bit of work. So that's a good friendly reminder to probably get my putter out of my room and just start lining a few up.
Oh, that's good stuff. Well, that goes on to the next one. Who is better for a night out, Finn Christie or David Havili?
It's definitely Dave, because like Reed can go all night, but like if you're going out with Reed, he's just going to be an absolute piss the whole night, and he's just guaranteed to do something to you that's just going to piss you off. Like he's just got that personality where he just can't help himself. So like in terms of who can go harder, like they're both pretty available for it. But if you're going out with Reed, you need to keep eyes in the back of your head because at some point he's going to come for you. Him and Ethan Blackett on this tour have honestly just been like, you've never met a duo like it. Two just unique individuals.
Oh, a couple of lads.
I do enjoy having a few beers with Red. I'm probably being a bit harsh there, but yeah, I'll give Davey the nod.
Yeah, give it to Skip. Okay, next one. Why have All Black wingers had such a high turnover rate, and how are you going to stop that? So that's an interesting one. So sort of around, I guess, what you talked about that pre-season and not really getting that pre-season, how you managed to come back into it.
Honestly, I thought you were meaning like turnover rate, as in like when we're like carrying the ball, we keep losing it in contact. I was like, geez, instantly confident. Yeah. So I was pleased you said that. But no, I think like, yeah, it is an interesting one. I think obviously the outside back is a position that is a little bit reliant on athleticism in a way, like speed, agility, and that sort of thing. So it does tend to be as you get older, like props can sort of play through to the sort of 35 and still be pretty effective, whereas most outside backs by the time they get into kind of 27, 28 are probably starting to decline. And I think one thing you got to give Ben Smith credit for is the way he was able to keep playing and be effective for the All Blacks till he was about 33. So I guess that's kind of the blueprint for it, around staying in the game in the back three for as long as possible. So might have to give him a call at some point and ask for the secret. But the other thing is that you just see across the country, there's so many good wingers coming through. Like you say, like even just for the Crusaders next year, there's like 6 or 7 guys who could easily play on the wing for the All Blacks. And it's the same across all the franchises, really. Like you look at this year, even Leicester and John and Ariki were 2 guys who were just carving up Super Rugby. You know, you'd think it'd be in the All Black frame and didn't make it. Obviously, we didn't even have Caleb Clark this year because he was playing 7. So there's just a sheer number of guys who are putting their hands up. And I think as a result, you do just see a bit of a turnover.
When you do get to 27-ish, will you start thinking maybe moving back into 9?
That might be the late career shift to keep me going. Well, I was actually talking to Davey about this because he's not that old yet. Davey's he must be 26. And so we were saying he's kind of done that sort of age grade shift into the midfield, which potentially could keep him going for a few years. So I don't know, I might have to start working on I might have to move into the midfield, maybe. I think I'm too tall for halfback now. I've been kicking a few goals at All Blacks training just in my spare time. On tour, so just casually, not as a real legitimate option. But maybe I'll make it. We move into 10 could be nice. I have to work on the catch pass a bit. But that might be a better shout than playing 9.
Could we see a few goals from you in the Super Rugby this year? Kicking goals.
Oh, I think if we see if the Crusaders get a penalty, probably 65 out, then you can probably expect Whitelock to point at the post for me to get the tee. I'm actually a pretty poor goal kicker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, not that great. Like I can give them a hack, but I'm not. You know, if I'm kicking 5 goals from around the paddock, probably 3 are going over.
Oh yeah.
Not so your 4 or 5. And yeah, probably about 55 would be my range. So I don't have a torpedo like some of those other boys. So it's going to be a while before I get a kick. Probably take like a kick off or something before I'm getting a shot at goal.
That's a shame for all the fantasy rugby players because I don't know if you know, but you probably do, but you are a fantasy rugby wizard at Super Rugby level, always leading the line breaks, tackle breaks, that's those sort of stats. So if you added goal kicking to your string, oh mate, that would just be, you'd be the first $1 million player.
Yeah. One thing Andrew Goodman can vouch for is that I am a gun from the left-hand touchline. That is the one spot that I am credible from, and that's because it's right by the changing shed at the Crusaders. So I won't actually do a goal-kicking session, but as I'm on the way to the shed, I'll just quickly grab someone's tee and just have a shot from there. I won't ever really hit in front. So if there's ever an opportunity to, the left-hand touchline would be
that's your spot.
Would be the spot for it.
Oh mate, I'd love to see that on a match winner. That'd be good stuff. Okay, next one. This one's from Staffy. Actually, are you tired of getting the All Blacks out of your shit with your individual brilliance?
No, to be honest, there haven't been too many times where the boys have been down. To be fair, like most of the time when I've been playing, I've just been getting on the end of the gravy train and putting them down. I think Damien McKenzie in particular, he's getting sick of just putting balls out on my chest 5 metres short of the line and me having to run around. He reckon he deserves a lot of the credit for it. So, he's actually not happy. I think the try scoring stuff, a lot of them are just, it's just a wing as well, really, just to get on the end of training and get a few put downs. Like, if you're not scoring tries, then it's sort of a bit of an issue. So, yeah.
Well, you're certainly doing that, mate. Okay, next question. Hardest team to beat at the 2023 Rugby World Cup, in your opinion?
Yeah, there's a couple of teams that stand out. I think, obviously, the Africans are a team that, like, historically have been a big rival for us, and they just play such a unique game with that kicking game that I think you can see from any team they've played this year. Like, they're just a tough team to beat because they're not playing with the ball much. Like, they basically just playing that pressure game. They're forcing you to make heaps of mistakes. So, like, they're a hard team to kind of run away from just from the way they play. So they're always going to be a tough game. Obviously, Ireland, I thought were very impressive when we played them. They played some great rugby in that game. That's going to be tough. And then lastly, the French, with it being on their home soil, a young group as well. So they're going to probably grow over the next couple of years. And certainly on the weekend when they had some momentum, Stade de France with, I think, 82,000 French behind them. It's a pretty fizzing atmosphere, and it's sort of all goes. So I think we're playing them. The first game of the World Cup's against them at that stadium. So
true.
That'd be one. If you wanted to go watch a good game of footy, I'd imagine that would be right up there.
That's the one to lock in, and hopefully you're on the wing, running out with the lads.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
2 more questions. What's it like being the sexiest man on the planet? Questions like these came in a lot, like I sort of mentioned before, but geez, you've got a lot of women followers, fans.
Well, I am pleased those sorts of comments are coming in because obviously during Super Rugby this year, I got the real good boot across the face and got a decent scar across the cheek. So I think I was a bit worried that that might have had a big impairment on my looks. So, although it is sort of slightly wild feedback, it's good to know that it hasn't, like you said, altered the perception too much.
Would you look to get into modelling or anything like that?
Nah, I don't think so.
Richie's doing some good stuff with his denim jacket and top off, and obviously Damien was pretty keen to get nude for the week calendar. So, what about you? That's probably not something I'm not too comfortable with the old modelling shoots. It's bad enough when you got your Getty and your Sky shoots for promo day. So I might have to leave that up to those lads. Damien and Richie, they look very comfortable behind the camera, don't they? Geordie as well. I've seen his Hellenstein shoots going around. He's a natural. So there's enough bodies in that space in New Zealand. Mate, the modelling competition's as much as the outside backs at the moment. You guys are all on.
Yeah, crazy.
Okay, last question. Advice for a young player?
Yeah, good question. I think, like, the pathway I've always followed with my footy, I think it's just the way it's gone, is like I've just always really enjoyed the game. Like, I sort of started from when I wasn't really necessarily striving to be a professional rugby player. I just sort of enjoyed playing footy, and that and just having a good time with my mates has been something that I've tried to always sort of hold true. And I think when you're enjoying your footy and you're playing with a good bunch of guys, that's when you're playing your best footy. And, like, for example, I look back on that, I've talked about a little bit in the podcast around that Tasman title in 2019. Like, it's the guys that we did it with that I think about rather than the actual win. Like, guys like Hunty, Reg, Quinny, Davey, Nank, all Tim O'Malley, those guys who I'd sort of been real close mates with, and being able to celebrate with them is the thing that I can remember from it. So that's what I take out of it, is like, it's all, working hard and that sort of thing is obviously very important and a huge part of being a professional sportsman. But I just think, for me, if you're not enjoying it and you're not in an environment and around people that you want to be in, then it's pretty tough to be successful. So that's the one thing I kind of take out of it.
Mate, absolutely nailed it, like I knew you would. Hey, always come up trumps with advice. Mate, well, absolute pleasure having you on the podcast, mate. You're an absolute legend. Like I said, watching you play is, you're one of those guys who everyone gets out of the seat when you got the ball, and watching you come through the ranks from Tasman is probably where I first noticed you, and then going through the grades to now being the cemented All Black winger has been awesome to watch, and obviously hear a lot of stories about what you added to the group here in Tasman, and you've been a big part of this side's success with not only on the field but in the culture as well. So, mate, it's awesome having you on the podcast. Sorry it's taken so long, and sorry it's had to be via online, but mate, great to finally get it done.
No, thanks, Jimmy. It's been great to finally join the club of elite athletes and lads who have been on the potties. So, it's been awesome, and hopefully someday I can get in the studio and chew the fat face to face.
Oh, mate, can't wait. Appreciate it, mate. You're a legend.
Cheers, Jimmy.